Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're taking, this isn't the first look because we played this on the channel before, it's a new, I don't know if it's a series, it's a new video, looking at a game called Gettysburg, The Tide Turns. I don't know why it says Battle Hymn here, but it's Gettysburg, The Tide Turns. It was made by Shenandoah Studio back in 2017, published by Slytherin. There was some controversy around it because there was a Kickstarter that was kind of only half delivered on. I think there was a board game version of it that never came out. But it was, Shenandoah Studios used to be a really, I don't know if I'd say really successful, but within the wargaming niche, they were a successful studio with mobile games that ported to PC, but they were very successful on the iPad. And it was sort of that time where folks thought maybe the iPad would be the next great device in gaming, and while iOS and Google are certainly making buckets of cash in gaming, it's not in the way that people had hoped. At the time, it was like, hey, you'll buy a game on iPad, and now no one buys games on iPad. They just download a game for free and get microtransactions to death. But this was at the time where games were still coming out, where people thought maybe this was going to be, a great gaming device for traditional game developers and traditional gaming experiences. And so Gettysburg The Tide Turns is a turn-based war game looking at the Gettysburg battle with a really unique art style that I love. It had a troubled release. It was very buggy. Again, kind of the Kickstarter wasn't fully delivered on. Shenandoah Studio, I believe, went under and then was acquired by Slytherin. What was left of it was acquired by Slytherin around this time frame. I don't know for sure that they went under, but it was this weird thing of hey, there's this independent studio. Now they partner with Slytherin. Now they're acquired by Slytherin. It was, and I don't think it was because things were going well. That's why I say they were successful-ish. They're very well regarded within their niche, but I don't know if the niche was large enough to support the studio. I know Jean, who Strategy Wargamer, who used to be on the Single Malt Strategy podcast with me, I think he did an interview on site with them at one point. If I can find the link to the description, I'll throw that. I'll throw that in the description if I can find a link to that interview. Where he went there, and I thought that was an interesting look at that studio at the time. But let's go ahead and take a look at this, because like I said, it was a troubled game that looked awesome that kind of never really panned out. So we're going to go ahead and start a new game here. Now you can see there are a number of different options here. You can play just the first day. You can play the campaign, which is all 3 days. Second, third, or Pickett's Charge, or the best 3 hours, which is sort of Longstreet's reference to the echelon attack on the Union left on the second day's fight, where he basically, I think he was quoted as saying it was the best 3 hours of fighting his men ever did. I had some weird static. I hope that's not coming through. Sorry, guys. I need to figure out my audio settings. I've made some changes recently. Hope this isn't trash, but I need to make some fixes here because it's not what I want it to be. Anyway, we're gonna do the campaign. I don't know that we're gonna have a chance to play through it because the game isn't the fastest playing game. But let's go ahead and take a look here. AI difficulty, we'll do medium. There's 3 stars, 1 star, 2 star. We'll do 2 star. We will play as the Confederacy. I like to push the action. Although the Union is an enjoyable playthrough. The main issue I had with this game in the past was it felt like every time I got around to turn 7 or 8 or so, the game would just crash. And I believe there was a final patch or two pushed out a little while after release. I don't think I've played it since then, but I know on release it was real rough with a lot of bugs. No idea if it still is or not. But you can see here, it pulls up, here's the CS objective. I believe this is just for the first day's fight. Capture 2 objective hexes. We currently hold 0. U.S. objective is to have more victory points than the Confederacy. Confederacy has 6. The Union has 0. Victory status is evaluated at the end of turn 11. I believe that's the end of the first day, so I think they evaluate victory status at the end of each day to kind of determine how things progress here. But here you can see we've got units on the map, elements of the 1st Corps for the Union, elements of Heath's division for the Confederacy. Now there's this die roll thing where the game kind of does a little, you saw those different items pull through where it's kind of randomized. Again, it's very board gamey in that sense, but it's kind of randomized in terms of what you actually get to pull through to the map. What you get to, who plays in what order, I guess is what I should say. So that is one thing that I think is a little I don't know if it's bad, but it's interesting that the game kind of does that, in that it's like, all right, we're gonna have you sort of not a set turn structure in terms of the turns, which is not my favorite feature with the game here. But you can see here we're deploying Heath's division. We've got Davis's brigade out front. We've got archers behind it. You can see, I believe these are like, the strength is represented by regiments, but I don't know if Davis really had 8 regiments. That might not be true. But there's like a chit here, 8 chits for Davis, 4 for Archer. Archer's experience, Davis is raw. You can see here on McPherson's Ridge, we've got Gamble and Devon's cavalry brigades out front, and then we've got Caleb's small cavalry artillery battery. And then you can see if we scroll out here, this is the map of Gettysburg. Now it's kind of rotated. I'd prefer these guys to be on the left, and thus I'm moving left to right toward Gettysburg and that more traditional layout, but it is a pretty good looking map. One of the things I really like, and it becomes more apparent as the battle gets a little bit bigger, but I love the art style of this game. I love the little chits that show you the strength of the units. I love the way that the units adjust based on where you put them. So like, for example, we put Davis out front here, and I can undo my move here. If I were to put Davis here and I was to put Archer on, well, that's a bad example. If I was to, let's undo that again. If I was to put, and you can undo until you commit. So let's put Davis on the pike to the north here, and then we can put Archer just to the south here. And you can see the units sort of like automatically snap to a position based on like where units are around them. So it allows you to kind of make like a cool little atlasy looking map, which frankly I like. But for the moment anyway, the Confederacy's goal here really has to be to push the action to get as far forward as possible. I don't think how many hexes you move matter. I don't think there's like a forced march element here. So we'll just go ahead and do that. We'll move them there. And those are my only 2 units at the moment. So let's go ahead and just commit and see what the Union has in store for us. First Corps is going to be coming out of the map. I don't think we have to worry about them too much, but you can see they're coming up from Warfield's Ridge. So they're entering the map here from the south, just to the east of Round Top, and we're over here. So they're moving their men on the road to kind of come up and link up with the Union cavalry. And now we're moving on to turn number 2. That was the first turn. So it looks like we're going to begin to get artillery reserve units for the Confederacy on the map. We're also going to have the opportunity to fight. That first turn didn't have any combat phase, but this turn will have the option to have both a Union and Confederate combat phase, and then also the Union cavalry can move this turn as well. So first thing that rolls here is the Confederate artillery reserve, which is not on the map yet. We can go ahead and deploy Pegram's battery onto the map, I guess here. I don't think they're in range of doing anything here. Sometimes the artillery makes the units look a little weird too, but go ahead and do that. CSA combat, I don't think there's anybody in range yet for fighting, so nothing happened there. Union cavalry is just going to stay on the ridges there, so they don't want to move toward us, so they stayed put. And then Davis's brigade here can move. So now we can move Davis and we can move Archer. Now our troops are coming up the Chambersburg pike. We'll get more troops, probably Pender's boys will be coming up that way. So I think we'll throw Pettigrew's brigade here on Devon's flank. We're going to try and crush the Union flank. So we'll put him up here, although he's not in range to fight there, is he? So if I were to move him here, you would get like an estimated strength. So you can see he's got 8. He'll split his fire between the 2 units in front of him, which means he'll do 1 unit of damage to Devon, 1 to Caliph. That would rout Caliph's battery, but he would take 3 fire from Devon, and there's a die roll, so it's not like guaranteed. But you'd see that would like cut his strength almost in half, so probably not ideal. Now, in theory, Archer could move up on his flank and support that attack, and then the Union's brigade, Devon, would have to split its fire, 2 going toward Davis, 1 going toward Archer, and then Archer would add 2 firepower to the fight as well. So you'd actually get 3 hit points in on Devon, which would pretty badly cripple his brigade and might cause him to retreat, but it wouldn't destroy him in that particular scenario. So do I want to do that? I don't know. What are other options here? We can move Davis just to fight Devon one-on-one, and then we could still move Archer in here. Archer would split his fire with Devon and Caliph. He would still destroy Caliph's battery. Meanwhile, Devon would take 2 fire in on Davis in that scenario, so less damage to Davis, 1 toward Devon, although Devon might take 1 from Caliph as well, which would be half of Archer's strength in this scenario. You're still just doing 3 damage, though. We could try and move on Gamble, but he's in a wooded terrain. You can see this map. You can see elevation factors in. Can Pettigrew get up here at all? No. Pettigrew and Brockenborough, who are 2 new brigades, are not able to reach this particular spot on the map yet. Gamble has 5 firepower. His brigade is much better than Devon's, much larger and probably better. He's got elite quality. Devon has veteran quality. So Gamble is a tougher nut to crack. I probably don't want to do that sort of piecemeal. So I'd like to get up on this ridge on Oak Hill, but I'm still a little bit further away, and I don't want to give the Union too much time to catch up here. So maybe we just eat it and put Davis here and Archer here. So that'll still do the 3 damage to Devon. Davis will take more damage, but he's also a lower quality unit in raw. Maybe he'll retreat because of that, though. I'm not sure. Pettigrew's veteran here. We'll get him up as far forward as we can toward Hare's Tavern, and Brockenborough will get up in behind him. So we've got 2 more brigades coming up to support. We are going in a little bit more piecemeal than is ideal, but we'll see. So that doesn't do the combat. Now we've got USA combat, so I suppose here's the approach fire. I guess the damage that we take here from the approach fire. And again, those numbers were estimates, so this is not looking great. The approach fire, we took a lot of damage and didn't really do much, but we shattered their artillery as we sort of forecasted. Archer's brigade does actually retreat, and so does Davis. They both fall back. Devon did take 2 chits of damage. Davis only took 2, but again, his troops are raw. So it looks like actually Davis took 3. 2 are sort of suppressed, which is that white hollowed out square. 1 destroyed. So his strength went from 8, a max strength from 8 to 7, and then sort of a temporary strength of 5. Archer went from 4 to 3 permanently. So that's what happened here. Devon advances for some strange reason off the ridge, which is not what I would do if I was him, but I guess whether it matters or not, it's still going to depend on what the die rolls come through for the next turn and the actual, who gets to move when. Meanwhile, First Corps is coming up. You can see Cutler and the Iron Brigade are going to be the closest to the action. They're near Cemetery Ridge now. Probably still 2 turns away from being in range to fighting along McPherson's Ridge, though they could be to Seminary Ridge next turn, potentially here. So it is now a new hour has started, July 1st. It is the 3rd hour of the battle, and we've got the same units on the map here. Although it does look like the 11th Corps is going to start arriving sort of on the edge of the map as well. Snuffling, how do you pronounce that guy's name? And then Krasinski. But you can see these guys are moving here from north of Little Round Top. They're coming up the Tawnytown Road. But again, they're a little ways away as well. They're probably 3 or 4 turns away from fighting. USA combat, nobody's in range, so nobody's going to fight. First Corps, they are going to get the First Corps to move. I haven't even gotten to move yet this turn, so you can see how kind of that randomized nature is. It can be a little grating, can be a little bit frustrating, but I think it's built on a board game style as well. So it kind of makes sense to me. I'm curious to see how far Cutler and the Iron Brigade make it. I'd love to try and bring Archer, Pettigrew, Davis, everybody in on Devon to try and crush him, especially since Devon has, I think, given up the high ground, moving off McPherson's Ridge in pursuit. But we'll see. The other problem is, I could move into position, and if we don't have a combat phase, it may not matter. I won't get necessarily able to fight there. All right, so Confederate units, we have 4 units to move. Devon's off the ridge. Pettigrew might actually be worth. Can we? Gamble has so much firepower. What is up, dude? Look at how strong. He's like a shock brigade. I don't think that's a good idea. I think we need to have a lot more strength to deal with Gamble, which is kind of funny. But anyway, Archer, we're going to move Archer in on Devon's flank. He'll have the high ground, so even though he's only got 3 units, he got 2 to 1 against him. Davis is going to move on the other flank, so the committed brigades are going to try and shatter Devon by themselves, I think. So you can see here we should be able to shatter Devon pretty easily when combat comes. Here, and Gamble is not in the fight, so these guys are all pounding in on Devon. Devon's brigade should be gone, but again, we're just getting to McPherson's Ridge as the Union's coming up onto Seminary Ridge right now. So all units have moved. We'll go ahead and commit, and we'll see if we get a combat phase. No, we don't. Cavalry happens. I don't know what screened means. Does that mean they're allowed to retreat for free? I've never seen that before. They didn't fight. They were able to withdraw without losing anything, which is a little frustrating. So, again, plays like a board game. You kind of got to be okay with that. All right, so we've got more artillery coming onto the map. Come out near Harris Tavern. These guns, I'm going to get up onto this ridge here, McPherson's Ridge. I hate the way that like, I don't get to move, I just get to bombard this turn then. Right. Might as well bombard Gamble, I think. The other artillery's not in range. I don't know why there's no sound. So first corps is going to come up, and this is where like things are going to start getting blotchy. It's going to be hard to win, I think, at this point, given how much strength the Union has coming up now, and given the way that we've already used our combat phase. If I was to redesign this game, I would say combat would not be randomized. I would say unit selection and who gets to move when would be randomized, but then the actual fighting would be determined like set or alternating or something like that. Apparently Gamble's going to stay in position. We got Pender's brigade coming up now. Up to Chambersburg. You can see these little Confederate flag circles are also where the objectives are, where it said like take 2 objectives. Those are the objectives you want to take. I don't know that I fully understand some of the positioning of the federal troops, but I wonder if I can. Let's adjust this real quick because there should be sound here. Alright, I got sound effects. Alright, so now what do we do? I think we've already done the combat for this turn, haven't we? I don't honestly remember. So, First Corps has already moved, I believe. So we're going to kind of bypass Gamble. Undo that. Can he really not get there? Lame. The sound effects aren't great. Alright, so we can probably... It looks like Devin has recovered one of his suppressed units, too. I don't know if you have to, like, rest him to get him back. Alright, we'll have Davis move to the south a little bit so he can link up with the artillery. Alright, so we got Heath now. So we can, like, move into the town. Let's extend the flank here by moving Davis north toward the city. We've got more artillery coming on the map, too. So First Corps is going to move on to Cemetery Ridge now. They're just falling straight back from Seminary to Cemetery. That's interesting. We haven't even fought the Iron Brigade yet. They just decided, you know what, sorry, thanks for buying us all the time we needed, Buford, but we're just going to sacrifice you and defend the ridge. Which, frankly, I get. That's probably the smart thing to do in this scenario. Alright, Pender's coming up. So Gamble is in the woods, but if we do get a combat phase, I think we're actually in good shape with that because we can concentrate on him. pretty heavily. Alright, so he's going to do 2, 2, and 1 damage. We're going to do 2, 2, and 1 as well. I don't love even fights, but maybe we can do an artillery bombardment. Or they're just going to withdraw. God damn it. Why does the combat never favor us? Devon's going to stay... No, Devon's going to withdraw. Well, this is a little anticlimactic and disappointing. In my previous fights, it was much more interesting. And now we get no combat. And they're just going to clump on Cemetery Ridge? Come on. Might be what I would do as a player, but it's not exactly enjoyable to chase them with very little fighting so far. I can't blame them for withdrawing from those situations. I just think that it would be more interesting if at the end of each phase for your turn you did combat rather than waiting to see if it randomly comes up first or last in the die roll. All right, let's pull our artillery reserve forward a little bit, I guess. U.S. combat. No combat from them. Artillery reserve is going to move again, I guess. I don't love putting my artillery up here kind of exposed, but I would like the ability to bombard the enemy, so they can probably bombard from there. Hey, Rhodes has arrived, boys. Where is he coming on the map? Alright, let's have him come through the town. He's going to come down where, realistically, the 11th Corps should be forming up. So this is just, hey, everybody's arriving at Gettysburg. But, like, most of the first day's fight is not panning out. We got some cavalry. Iverson's brigade, you'll form up behind Davis. Ramosaur, you can go over here. It's interesting that the Union gets to move by corps, whereas the Confederacy moves by division, at least on the first day fight. Federals are forming up perhaps a little bit more. Oh, they're going to advance into the town? They're going to maybe a little bit of a forward defense? I don't quite understand having Gamble's flank in the air, but could give us a bit of an opportunity here. And Gamble is no longer on high ground, so Pettigrew coming up actually has an advantage against him. I think the first corps already moved, so I don't have to worry about Biddle coming up, although the 11th Corps could insert itself. I don't like the way it jerks me back to the headquarters for Heath when I try and get into this fight. Like, stop bringing me back to the edge of the map. So if we do get to fight, Gamble's in trouble. 1, 1, and 1 for him, whereas he'll take 2, 5, and 2. They may just withdraw him, though. They've got artillery firing on me in support. Did a lot of damage to Davis's brigade there, you can see, at least in terms of demoralization. May have taken some of the sting out against Gamble. So Gamble's brigade's pretty badly shot up. You can see he's down to 2 out of 6, but he's not dead. Okay, so Gamble withdraws. Union already did their combat for this turn, so... Anyway, looks like the fight is forming up to be just in the outskirts of Gettysburg town, maybe just to the south of it, and then also the ridge, perhaps, for this day's fight. We've still got 5 more turns. I need Early to arrive, frankly. I probably need in Heath's division to give Davis a rest so his boys can reform without, you know, getting... They're demoralized right now, but they're not destroyed. Hey, Early's arrived. They can just go straight. Can you go straight for Culp's Hill? Use your combat initiative to substitute the next marker pulled with CSA combat. No, I don't want that because I'm not even adjacent to any. Wait, your side, the other side is the initiative for this turn. A side that has the initiative can choose when to play their combat chit, but must play it before the end of the turn. Okay. Random. I don't want to use combat yet. All right, so bring Pender up. So what do we do here? Let's see if we can flank and crush. For some reason, the 1st and 11th have stuck Biddle and Ames out here on an island. I don't understand the significance of the size of the circle when you move a unit. Like, I would think I'd want Lane up on this hill. Veteran. They're both veteran. 6 strength units. I don't particularly want to move anyone to here because they're going to get hit from 3 brigades. Can I move further? Alright, I don't think I can. So what we're going to do is we're going to move Lane and Perrin up on the flank of Biddle. Probably will cause him to retreat, but then we're going to have Scales... 6-1. No, thank you. Alright, I think we'll do that. We can also move artillery up. I don't know if they can bombard from there or not. Okay, we'll extend the line to northern Gettysburg town. I guess we'll do combat just to see how this works. Attacking units can retreat. We're not going to, though. No. So, approach fire. I suppose the defenders get to shoot first because they're dealing with the enemy coming up on them. Whoa, Lane did 5 damage, and they shattered and destroyed that whole brigade. I don't want to advance. I like the position I'm in. Wow. Alright, so we destroyed an enemy brigade. Hell yeah, brothers. And now Rhodes is coming up. Is O'Neill veteran? He's trained. I need the best. Who's the best I've got? Iverson's green, right? He's raw. Doles. Ramessar. O'Neill. Okay, so we'd probably crush Devon. We'd do some damage to Gamble. but Cutler would probably wreck Doles and Ramessar here. Is it worth it? I mean, I want to move someone in Davis's spot. The problem is I don't particularly want to do that quite yet. What if we move Daniel in front of Cutler right here, so it's just one-on-one with him? And then would he be better here? 3 and 3 split. Probably not ideal. I don't really want to attack these crack units of the first corps head on if I don't have to. Alright, let's do this instead. Let's take smaller brigades here and try and engage their cavalry on advantageous terms. Maybe we can destroy what's left of their cav. Of course, that's still going to be the 6. We'd pretty much destroy Devon's brigade. Less so gamble. Could at least split the fire. I don't know. If he withdraws Devon, that'll hurt Cutler, so I don't think he'll do that. Fuck it, let's see. And of course their artillery is going to pound us first. Devon's firing. Cutler's firing. When do we get to shoot? Oh, here we go. Alright, so Devon's brigade is destroyed. For some reason, the 11th Corps brigades adjacent to... I guess the Union is just deciding to withdraw. That's interesting. So we took pretty heavy casualties here. O'Neill, Ramessar. Still, it could have been worse, for sure. I feel like I'm not using my artillery effectively at all. No. I don't know why there's like church bells just going non-stop in this audio. So we'll keep Archer back. I'm going to pull Davis's troops all the way back here toward Blücher's Knoll to rest and refit. Let's actually reset this here. So Davis, your boys are badly shot up. You need to save yourself. You need to get out of the range of where they're likely going to shoot at you. Pettigrew, you'll try to move onto their flank? Okay. I'd like to move O'Neill back too, but... Wonder how the game decides who gets initiative and who doesn't. You gonna move anyone up to support Ames here? So what we did? We destroyed Devon's brigade. Oh, they're gonna pull Ames back onto the ridge. I guess that makes sense. Move Coster. That's not a good trade for you. So Gamble's still alive in rough shape. They're moving him to the flank. We're going to move our artillery there. First Corps going to do what? Oh, they're going to advance a stone? I guess you don't want to give up these objectives here. It's hour 8. I also don't like how certain units don't get to move certain turns. Like, Early didn't move. I don't know why, but he didn't. Nope. Don't want combat yet. We're not ready for that. We got to get our troops into better position than they are now. Alright, so they're now extending their lines onto Culp's Hill. Might actually be an opportunity to swing around their right if we can ever get Early down into this fight. They're pulling themselves back to really reinforce the Culp's Hill objective. I'm going to advance Smith against my artillery, which is interesting. Okay, so let's see if we can... We can move Lane up onto Cemetery Ridge, which gives him a more favorable... Try to take some pressure off of the artillery battery there. I don't like this exchange. We'd take 5, 8 chits damage and only do 3, 5, 7. In the north we'd take 2 and we'd do 2. Although we get a 2-to-1 here on stone. Well, the way this turn is panning out, we can turn this into a full-scale assault if we want. Just a full-scale evening assault on Culp's Ridge, or Culp's Hill, or whatever. Ramsar will die if I do this. Let's not do that. Where can this cavalry go? Can they do anything? O'Neill's boys are going to go back and hang out with Davis to rest and refit. Paul is only doing 2 damage here. So that helps us that he's not the best unit. I'd like to move Jenkins into the town to support the attack, but... Alright, so Paul will do 3 damage here. Ramsar won't do anything, but it'll... Does it change anything on our end? It's actually not even a preferred. It's at least weaken stone? No. So moving Ramsar forward would actually be a bad deal for me. Alright. I guess now is the time to launch the attack. Those are the only 3 left who haven't moved, and I can't do anything with them. So let's go ahead and do combat next and just see what it has in store for us. I wanted to get the option to use artillery to bombard. Oh, okay, here we go. Alright, so let's bombard. Who do we want to bombard? Can you not bombard the same hex twice? Okay. Do we want to pull anyone back? I would say at this point, no. I don't really want to lose that. Have that artillery in close combat, but it would set Thomas up for failure. So I think we'll have everybody fight. Approach fire. This is going to be a bloody assault. We won't push them back, but we'll see what kind of damage we might do to them. They get to fire assault, approach fire, and the first round of fire. Although that lane's first volley there did 4 damage. We shattered the brigade out front, in front of the Iron Brigade. Some of the 11th Corps units just like to retreat, or maybe they're extending the line, I'm not sure, but they are withdrawing. We had several of our own brigades, Iversons, Daniels, etc., withdraw. Lane can advance onto the objective, so we took one of the objectives, although it's a dicey place for him to be adjacent to the Iron Brigade. Stone's brigade was shattered, so another Federal brigade broken. I am not going to advance Doles, though. He took too much damage to try and push on Cemetery Hill. Nope. Whoa, the artillery did 3 damage to Smith's 11th Corps brigade. They took 50% casualties, but Smith withdrew. Does that make sense to advance Thomas there? I don't think we gain anything by that. Let's keep the line straight. Alright, so Heath's brigade. When do earlier roads get to move again? Alright. Cutler is in a dicey spot. Can we move any of these guys up onto the objective? Because Pettigrew can make it to the Cemetery Ridge objective in the south, but he'd be real isolated if I do that. If I move down there, he'll be basically entirely alone. Seems like a bad idea. I think it'd be better to move Pettigrew up here onto Cutler's flank. Because then we could effectively... Either Cutler will withdraw or he will be destroyed. That is the outcome there. I don't know why he keeps pulling me over to Davis. I'm not going to do anything with Davis. We're just going to let his boys rest. You know, alternatively, instead of moving Pettigrew there, what if we were to move Archer onto Cutler's flank? And then move Pettigrew into the salient, because the Iron Brigade's going to be doing 5 damage to Lane. But I can take some of that pressure off. They're still going to be doing 4 and 2. Dear God. Oh my God, they'll do 3, 2, and... I guess no damage. They're going to just get shot in the rear here. Huh. So if this were to fight, Cutler's going to get destroyed probably. Iron Brigade will get bloodied, but Pettigrew will lose half his strength. Lane will actually be okay. Brockenborough will be destroyed, but at this point his unit's so small. He's only trained also, so I think it's worth it. And then Davis is just going to rest. Alright, 12th Corps on the field now. Slocum's boys coming up. So that enemy right is very strong. Are we ever going to get to move? I think they're going to pull Cutler back at least. I don't know about the Iron Brigade, but Cutler it would make sense to move back. There we go. Early, finally. Decided to move, huh? Can't even get up into the fight either. None of his boys can march far enough. First day's fight's gonna be all Hill's boys. And Rhodes. Rhodes' boys did good. Right, battle occurring around Cutler. And the Iron Brigade, there goes Brockenborough's brigade. Destroyed pretty much, shattered. Alright, they're going to adjust their fire now so that Lane won't get off without damage, unfortunately. If Brockenborough had survived, Lane would have not been attacked by the Iron Brigade, but that will not be the case anymore. 6 damage done by Pettigrew. Hell yeah, brother. I don't know what you did it to. I don't see units that took 6 damage, but... Alright. Shattered. What was that? Cutler's brigade is gone now? And dead? Whoa, multiple... Is this like a routing mechanic? There are multiple enemy brigades just shattered, and I don't know what from, because we didn't attack all of them. Right, Davis healed 1. Okay. Can we see what the victory status is right now? So the CSA, I mean, we've destroyed a lot more of their units. We've taken damage, but usually the units of ours that get too badly damaged, we've withdrawn them from the front so they don't get wiped out. The USA's victory points, currently the Confederacy has 131 to the Union's 47. The Confederates also hold 1 of the 2 required objectives. I don't know if there's like a... you know, victory condition that gets triggered if you do too well. I don't think we're there yet. I mean, the Union has a lot more troops coming online too, but... Alright, so Early's got 5 units, so maybe they will get in the fight here. I don't particularly love the situation that Heath's boys are in, or Pender's. Let's try and take some of that pressure off. Six. Fuck the Iron Brigade, man. I say that as someone from Wisconsin. What if we move... Can we move Gordon here? Okay. This attack will probably destroy Wainwright's artillery and Gamble's cavalry. I'd like to move this artillery back. And then we can try and engage Von Gleese, the flank of the army, from our troops in the woods here against his raw troops in the open on this river. Kind of piecemealing my units all over, which is probably not very realistic, but oh well. Yes, actually, let's do combat now before the Union has a chance to move. So Gamble withdraws before the actual fight. We're going to hit the Iron Brigade with 2 bombardments of artillery. So I think we'll just destroy Wainwright's battery of artillery here. Meanwhile, we hit the Iron Brigade with multiple bombardments. We were hoping to do some damage, and it didn't look like we did. Their artillery's going to fire on an approach fire. I'm assuming, I feel like you get a lot more smoke when you attack artillery with infantry. I'm assuming that's representing canister fire. We definitely took some casualties there, but a victory nonetheless. I'd rather not advance Gordon there. I would love to advance Pettigrew onto that objective. But we destroyed one of their artillery batteries, which are very powerful. They only have 1 left. Their artillery is much more powerful than ours, I guess I'll say. Right. Von Glees versus Hoke up in the north. Looks like Von Glees retreated. I don't really want Hoke to advance onto that artillery's flank, so let's just keep him in place. Anderson's division is arriving now. The 1st Corps is beginning to arrive on the field, boys. They probably won't get up before nightfall. They're gonna move. Where are they gonna move Gamble to? The front of Cemetery Ridge is frickin' open. They're gonna bombard me. Their 1 artillery piece. Okay, so this is where I think we can spread out and take more objectives here. They've got a strong force up here to the north. They've still got some good units. I don't love putting my troops in this position here. But we now have 2 objectives taken, actually 3. So the whole front of Cemetery Hill is ours. We're trying to crush the Iron Brigade here. Eleventh Corps is going to move into position here in Culp's Hill to try and strengthen their position. Von Glees will come forward to try and attack our artillery battery there. Rest of the corps, I don't know if I'd say rallying, but at least trying to pull forward again and be useful. 12th Corps has at least 2 brigades coming up here. Not yet really on the front line. They're just kind of bunching up in the Union's rear. They haven't been able to extend their line yet with them. And they've got another artillery battery showing up. So it looks like the rest of Slocum's Corps is showing up. Another large brigade, Candy's brigade. Okay. Trying to have Jenkins finish off Gamble if we can. So the enemy is real strong in the north. We're not really, but we are extending our line down Cemetery Ridge. Doles, you're going to pull back and try and reform. Daniel, I'm moving you up this way just to try and take more victory points before the end of the day. Turn 11 is when they get assessed. So I'm curious to see Stannard's brigades coming up. Oh shit, they're coming in behind Daniel. They're going to destroy him. Meanwhile, the Iron Brigade stays put, I guess? Maybe? Well, but Stannard, you're all out here on your own. So I can put a brigade in your rear, actually, and completely negate your advantage there. Pettigrew, I think, is safe to put here as well. Put this artillery because I do want to support against the Iron Brigade. But I think these 3 brigades, Standard moved up into a position where he could have potentially destroyed Daniel, and maybe he still will. But he's also in a dangerous spot. Davis has recovered some strength. Probably not enough to move him back into the fight yet, given his troops are raw. All right, we're going to pull this artillery battery back. And then this fresh battery will anchor Iverson's flank. Okay. We also have the initiative. Do we want to use it now? I would say yes. Let's have combat happen now so we can try and destroy Standard and badly damage the Iron Brigade. Meanwhile, artillery... Can you not shoot at the same target? I want everybody to bombard. Maybe you can't bombard him. I'd love for everybody to bombard the Iron Brigade if possible. That might help. Gamble I'm not as worried about. Should I undo that one and have them bombard Standard instead? Am I getting a white flag here because there's friendly fire? I don't quite understand what that is. Whoa, 4 demoralization. Cemetery Ridge towards Standard. That was... Oh, it was just because I was hovering over it. Okay. So we hit the Iron Brigade with a lot of artillery. It doesn't seem like... They're Elite Plus. Probably the best unit in the game. Dear Lord. Did not look like it had much of an impact. Alright. Approach fire against Standard first. I think we'll shatter Standard because that artillery bombardment we threw down on him took half his strength out. And he's basically in the picket charge location and surrounded. So I would expect Standard's brigade to... No, we lost our 1 brigade. Alright. I was worried about, was that O'Neill or whoever that was, but we destroyed a much more power at the start of the unit we lost and the unit they lost. Theirs was much more powerful. All right, I think Gamble is going to be shattered too, so goodbye, Gamble. Do I want to advance anybody there? I guess we can. And now we've got the Iron Brigade. This one may be dicey. Lane might get destroyed. We'll see. Whoa! We got a good roll there from Scales firing into the Iron Brigade's flank, and the Iron Brigade was shattered! Yes! Pogue's artillery and Scales fell back. And our whole center of our position in front of... I'd rather Lane withdraw. But the whole center lane is completely demoralized, but he's at least advancing to take another hex, mainly to block the enemy from being able to come in and take these other 2 objectives back from us, but I don't know if that was a win. It feels like a win to destroy the Iron Brigade. First Corps doesn't have any units left, do they? Like, their movement just got skipped, and so did cavalry. Jesus. Alright. The whole of Cemetery Ridge is now ours. Granted, it's not, like, strongly held or anything, but... Davis is up to 5 strength. I think I'm going to move him back to the fight. I can't afford to just have a 5 strength unit sitting out the evening. So Lane will get destroyed here, presumably, by Coster and Ames. Yeah. They retake an objective. Eleventh Corps is coming forward, I guess, to maybe try and retake some of these objectives. Anderson's division is going to provide some fresh... Let's just zoom out. Reinforcements here for the next day's fight. They're not going to arrive before nightfall. Johnson's division's arriving. It's interesting that divisions come on and it's like, yeah, they're here, but then you, like, some of your units you barely get to use. Are they also coming up down this way? Huh. Elite, the Stonewall Brigade. Twelfth Corps. That's a good roll for the Federals because they need to get some of the reserves in. Although, whatever this unit, McBill or McDowell, that brigade just sprinted forward into a really bad tactical situation. They might destroy Ramesar and Jenkins. Well, not Jenkins probably, but they might destroy Ramesar here. So they may get some localized successes against individual brigades. We'll see. Let's move him over here to try and take the pressure off Iverson a bit. Same for trying to take some of the pressure off Jenkins. Well, again, I might get more of my brigades destroyed in the process. Move him down there to take another objective. We're advancing down toward Little Round Top. Although I don't think that's an objective for today's fight. I think that's a day 2 objective, potentially. Although the Union's almost surrounded. Not quite. I mean, like, Hoke's Brigade's not an effective blocker, but they're really pinned in around Culp's Hill here. Gordon could do great damage to this bad guy. Roads. Don't do that. O'Neill and Doles are still recovering. They're not ready to fight. Ramesar, I think maybe it makes more sense to pull him back. Jenkins will keep in place just to prevent Thomas from being overwhelmed. I don't love that artillery is going to take quite a bit of damage, but I think it's necessary. I think if I pull them back, it weakens Thomas and Gordon too much. And Iverson might take too much damage, but if I pull him back, what does that do to Scales? Nothing. Doesn't do anything to Scales or Gordon. So it makes... We could pull Iverson out of there. I don't like the idea of exposing my artillery to being on the front line, though. Get these guys up on Cemetery Ridge where practicable. Give them the high ground. Okay. I probably don't want to do that. Let's do this. What if we move Hayes here, and then Green's going to get him, but then we'll have Smith also. Okay. It's a little better. We've got the high ground there. I think that helps. Okay, we get more heals. Okay, rather than allow them the freedom of movement to readjust their lines, let's go right into this combat phase. Alright, so what are we going to do here? Okay. Make whatever this brigade 3 demoralization. So good damage here, here, and here. Green got a little bit weaker, but not dramatically. So commit to the attack, boys. And they're going to shoot their approach fire shot. I guess we get some approach fire too. So artillery's taking more damage than I would like. Most of it's temporary demoralization damage, though, not like outright destruction. Coster and maybe we'll destroy 2 enemy brigades. We'll see. Alright, so the big brigade in the center here was destroyed. One of our brigades on the right was destroyed. Green was almost destroyed. Coster's almost destroyed. Ames almost destroyed. Meanwhile, we lost a small brigade here between Smith and Jenkins, and they lost a big brigade here near Gordon. A bunch of units withdrawing. Gordon will advance. Scales will advance. Jenkins will advance to the flank here. Hoke and Cobham here fighting in the back. Another enemy unit shattered up here, I think. It wasn't ours. Hoke withdraws. Cobham withdraws. I don't think they have cavalry anymore. First Corps is dead. It just instantly they didn't get to move. Alright. Gordon's Early's main strength left. Hoke's kind of there. He's got 2 strength of veteran. Smith would outnumber him 2-1, but he's a rookie, so maybe it's worth the engagement. I don't think I want to move any of them. Third Corps is arriving. Here comes Sickles. They're going to probably come up on our flank, I would guess. Oh, almost in our rear. They're coming up from Warfield. Wonder if they're going to cut cross lots or if they're going to try and come up Cemetery Ridge from behind. Rhodes, meanwhile, I think O'Neill has recovered enough. 3 out of 5. We'll go ahead and get him forward. Let's pull Anderson back to rest. Move him into the town. Move O'Neill forward. And then Doles is at 50%, but we'll move him forward too. Jenkins is kind of holding a good spot between Green and Ames, so we'll keep him there. Ramosaur probably come forward to help against Green. Keep them going there. 11th Corps here, what are they going to do? They're going to push hard in on our flank in the north. Might be their best chance to do some damage, although coming right on our artillery there without another unit is going to be a little dicey. Anderson's division's finally going to move up here. We'll move them in along Emmetsburg to kind of provide a little bit of a shield, like on the flank. To Sickles will be coming up there, but I think we might have a good fight against Sickles tomorrow. If they're coming up the Emmetsburg Road and we're on Cemetery Ridge. And our cavalry withdrew, which is not great. Their artillery bombarded my artillery, which is interesting. Approach fire, there's my artillery firing canister at these guys. They did quite a bit of damage there on their first shot against my artillery there. Took out half my strength. But Von Glees shatters. That's the benefit we have on day one of the fight, is the 11th, whether fairly or not, the 11th is not a, and there goes green, or not green, there's another one of the brigades gone though. But the 11th, which makes up a big chunk of the Union strength on the first day, it did not have a good reputation. It didn't fight terribly well, but it was put in a position it couldn't really fight well. So I think, you know, the Confederates get that advantage. They're going up against, I wouldn't call them not the A team, but they're certainly not going up against troops with, who are set up for success. All right, there's not much left in the north. Green could recover to be effective. He's still got potentially up to five strength, but he's 1 out of 5 effectively fighting right now. 3 out of 8 for Smethling, but he's raw. Osborne's artillery's 3 out of 6. Ruger's infantry's 2 out of 5. Krasinski and Candy are the only fresh brigades. Cobham is at half strength, even though he's not got any suppression. We've taken quite a few casualties, but this is like an unquestioned first day victory for the Confederacy. Like, the Union is not obliterated, but they are borderline obliterated. Like, they've effectively 2 Union Corps have been destroyed. The first has all been destroyed, every single brigade. The 11th is shattered, and key elements of the 12th have also been badly mauled. So, like, they're basically down a corps and a half, two full, maybe 2.5 corps to start this fight. We lost maybe half a corps strength. I don't know. Maybe I'm overselling the day. I mean, they've only got like 5 brigades up here. Granted, I don't have a ton of strength either, but I might be being fooled by my own losses being lighter than they are because I've got so many more fresh troops coming up. I mean, even Pettigrew's in a good spot, though. I don't really want to throw Pettigrew in because he is a very good brigade. Why can't Archer move forward? I'm going to probably destroy skills there if I don't do anything. Or they might destroy him anyway. Do I want to take the damage that it'll take to try and assault this enemy gun position? Not really. Let's just leave that as is. Gordon might take some damage, but CSA victory. The genius and leadership of General Robert E. Lee and the bravery and fighting ability of the men under his command has led to a great victory at the town of Gettysburg. A new high water mark for the Confederates has been reached, and the tide is still coming in. Objective. Conquer 2 objective hexes. We hold 7. 267 victory points to 95. So because we won so decisively on the first day, I think the assumption is the Union would withdraw, and there's no reason to continue the game. If we were to continue the game, you can see here, like, we got 11 more turns. Federals get a die roll on it. It's weird that you'd get to die roll on units that don't really exist anymore. But yeah, so you can see it's the start of the next day. You've got the 3rd Corps coming up. The 12th, 11th, and 1st, what's left of them up here in the north. Daniel, we've got a fresh brigade. Oh, no, he's not even fresh. He was just off the map at, like, whatever strength. So we could continue the fight. We've been going for an hour and 15 minutes now, so I think that's enough. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how good the AI really is. You can, in theory, play online. I've never tried to play anyone online. But, yeah, this is Gettysburg, the Tide Turns. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Oh, it's actually still July 1st. It's not even the end of the day. So this is kind of the evening phase, I suppose. But in any event, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little sort of relook, I guess, reassessment of Gettysburg, the Tide Turns. An interesting game and concept that ultimately failed, unfortunately, through execution and various things. But that's the state of the game in 2025. It is not being actively developed. It's almost a decade-old game, and the company that did make it is defunct. So I don't know if Slytherin has any of the developers still on staff or not, but yeah, just thought I'd share it. Let me know your thoughts below, guys. Hope you guys have a good one. And maybe we'll do some Scourge of War streaming tonight. Scourge of War Gettysburg, you know, or maybe some Sid Meier Gettysburg. I don't know. If I stream, I'd like to stream some Gettysburg stuff because today is the anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg, at least the first day's fight. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts. Until next time, guys, hope you have a good one, and I'm out.